There is a moment that comes in your life just after you have achieved something important. Maybe it is the business that you always wanted to start, or maybe a career goal, or maybe a degree, right? Something that you always wanted to get. But once you actually got it, there is a moment where you feel, is this all there is? Or is this what I was actually looking for? Right? Maybe you feel happiness or joy for a few moments, but after that comes this feeling of longing, where the goalposts keep moving, where your mind finds the next thing for it to do, and the thing that you truly thought would fulfill you and complete you just did not. This is not greed and it is not a flaw in you. It is the predictable conditioning with which every person chases fulfillment. And here is the strange part. People who have achieved far more than what you have achieved today, maybe 100 times more or maybe 1,000 times more, the billionaires and celebrities that you aspire to be, even they feel the same emptiness. Even they experience the same gap until something shifts. Look closely at someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, a man who has won everything, earned everything, can buy anything. When he speaks about what actually moved him, it is almost never a trophy or a purchase. It is the schooling he funded for children who had nothing, the medical costs he quietly covered for a child he never met. A man with unlimited acquisition, pointing at the truth that what ultimately fulfills a person is giving. Now, you might feel giving is only for the rich, for the wealthy, and for people who have achieved something, but it is completely not true. Today, we will understand how giving is receiving. No matter at what stage you are at within your life, you will understand the secret to attract true abundance and true fulfillment. Your question might be, how come giving unlocks such a vast amount of happiness and a different dimension of fulfillment, and how can giving unlock abundance in my life? That's exactly what we will cover by the end of this video. With this, let's come to section 1, which is about the ceiling. The ceiling is about understanding that every external achievement comes with a ceiling past which we cannot go in terms of internal fulfillment, in terms of internal happiness and joy, which is the true measure of success, which is ultimately what each and every one of us are looking for. And you would have experienced this in your own life. When you were studying in school, your parents told you, focus on your studies, complete your 10th, and the grades you get here determines the rest of your life. It is the most important thing in your life. And you worked hard and maybe you performed well. But the fulfillment you got there was only for a limited period of time. Then came the next goal, that is the college. Then came the next goal, that is the university. Then came your career. Then came your marriage. So there were always the next goalposts for your life. And that true sense of fullness and completeness and fulfillment never came, even when you achieved your goals. Right? This tells us that external achievement by itself has a ceiling, past which we cannot go. It might give us a limited sense of fulfillment temporarily, but that's all it can give us. Now, today we are discussing the secret to abundance and fulfillment, how to attract abundance in life and how to live a fulfilled life is the goal for us today. Now, the problem with external achievements is that there is always the next thing for us to do. Nothing is ever enough for the mind, for the body, and for the ego. That is how we are conditioned to think and act. And the problem here is not with activity. In fact, when we study Vedanta, when we study Bhagavad Gita, we see that it encourages us to act. Krishna encourages Arjuna to fight the war. Building something is not the problem. Working towards a successful career is not the problem. But believing that that will fulfill you, believing that that will complete you, and believing that that is the true source of happiness is the problem. What the Upanishads say is that the true sense of happiness is not outside of you, but it is within you. Your true nature is Ananda. The Upanishads call this Satchit Ananda. Your true essence is that existence, that consciousness, that being. So, the first thing to understand before we get into the nuances of abundance is this, that internally you're already complete. If you start from a place of acceptance and detachment, then activity doesn't matter. You can always be fulfilled, you can always be happy, and you can go from one thing to another with ease and effortlessness. With this, let's come to the next part. That is the secret to giving. Now, we can look at any number of examples here, but because it is the soccer season, I'm sticking with this. Ronaldo auctioned his golden boot, put the proceeds towards schooling for children who had nothing. He gives blood regularly, donated bone marrow for a colleague's son, most of it without cameras. A man with unlimited acquisition, and the thing he points to as deeply fulfilling is the thing where he received nothing back. Just think about this. If happiness truly came from external attainments, then people who have achieved external attainments should be the happiest people on the planet, right? All these billionaires, these celebrities, pop stars, they should ideally be the most happy people in the world. But that's not the case. We hear this from their own words. I was watching an interview of Elon Musk where he said, I would not wish my life to anyone because I go through so much of turmoil, so much of suffering within. I'm paraphrasing here, but we see this as a pattern. There was the documentary of Michael Jackson on how much suffering he went through in his life, even after having all the money in the world, all the fame in the world, where people worshipped him even. So, this clearly tells us that external attainments themselves do not bring true happiness. And we see this again in so many examples. We can look at the Tatas in India and all these people who contribute to the greater good, and they seem to be the happiest people. With that, we will come to the third part, which is the important one, which is the mechanism. Why giving is receiving? What is the secret to abundance and true fulfillment? To understand this, we will have to go very, very deep into the essence of Advaita Vedanta. When we go deep into the nature of reality, we find that everything is one in essence. Even science in some way points to this. Einstein said E equals mc squared, which means energy is a different dimension of matter, matter is a different dimension of energy, which means everything is energy in essence, everything is one in essence. Everything we see are the manifestations of the same fundamental energy or truth. This is what Vedanta understood thousands of years ago. Now, if everything is one and if everything is full and complete, then happiness cannot be found in anything apart from that fundamental truth, that fundamental essence. And that essence is who we are, not as the body or mind, but as our own self. Now, how this connects to giving or any form of charity or help or volunteering is truly, truly mind bending. Now, imagine you are this person and you are transacting with another person. There is person A, which is who you are, and there is person B, whom you are trying to help or contribute in some way. What you assume at the level of the mind is that you are separate and he is separate and there is an interaction that is going on. But at the spiritual level, at the deeper level, the spirit that is you, the spirit that is him, the consciousness that is you, and the consciousness that is him or her is one. It is the same. So, this is the foundation for morality, as Swami Vivekananda described. When you give to someone something that they truly need, You experience a deeper dimension of happiness because you are not giving to someone else. You're giving to yourself at the deepest level. When you help someone, you are helping yourself. When you curse someone, you're cursing yourself. When you harm someone, you're harming yourself. This is the deeper understanding of what karma is and how reality actually is. So be very, very careful from today. Be careful with respect to the words you speak. Be careful with respect to what you give to the universe, the thoughts you think, the actions you take. Because whatever you're projecting is what you're receiving, because it's one reality. Giving and receiving both are the same activity. And the sense of I and mine is the root of all suffering. We call this ahankara and mamakara. Ahankara means I and mamakara means mine. When this is your worldview, when you're only thinking about yourself, then your life is a life of suffering. It doesn't matter even if you are in poverty right now. Find ways to give and see how universe responds, because giving comes from a place of fullness. A person who feels complete from within begins to give. A person who is in lack can never give. And whatever you feel yourself to be is what you actually become, what you actually attract. If you are right now stuck in your finances, the best way to bring in more financial resources into your life, the best way to attract abundance into your life is actually through giving. That's why we have a ritual within Advaita Conscious Society for our members called conscious contribution, where we recommend them to practice contribution at some level, at some dimension every single month. It can be helping someone, it can be contributing financially, it can be charity or volunteering or whatever. But some level of contribution, if we can bring it into our life, it can completely change how happy we live, how abundantly we live. Even the money that you have, even the financial resources that you have in your life will improve when you begin to give. Because ultimately, you're not giving to someone else, you are giving to your own self at the deepest level. That is conscious contribution. In the genuine act of giving, whether it's money, time, energy, or resources, expecting nothing back, something very strange happens to this wall of me and mine. The line between me and the outside world dissolves and you feel expansion, not loss, but fullness. And Taittiriya Upanishad said the deepest layer to who you are is Ananda, the true deep sense of happiness. That is what you will be able to access when you begin to give, because you slowly begin to dissolve the identity that you think you are. So, if you wish to attract abundance, remember, don't give with an intention of getting something. The moment giving becomes a strategy to receive, again, there will be blockage. But genuinely help others who are in need, who actually need your resources, your help, and your support without any expectation, just with an open mind and see what happens. And that is what the action item is for you through this video. Every month, at least once, bring in some kind of conscious contribution to your life. We call this the conscious contribution challenge, either through financial aid, either through volunteering, either through emotional support, or any kind of help. Once a month, make it a routine, make it a ritual, and see how your life transforms with this. And another understanding that I've got from a book that I read many years ago was whatever you want, begin to give that first. If you want respect, give respect to others. If you want love, love everyone and everything. If you want more money, give money. Help those in genuine need. Whatever you feel like you want from life, begin to give that first. That's the secret to receiving. Next, check out this important video on how to close the gap between where you are and where you wish to be in life. This is a free, unlisted training, which can be a very powerful 25-minute training that you can go through to understand what is keeping you stuck in life and how to bridge this gap. And after watching this, if you feel a genuine alignment, you can even apply to work with us at ACS to save decades of unconscious loops and unconscious creation.
Subscribe to Adhvaitha to wake up. Shivoham.